One of the words that they use in the ed tech space, and really tech space, is this concept of a workflow. In my CTO ed, he talked about workflows and all of this stuff. Like, and I don't know what you're talking about. And what a workflow simply is, I think of it as the things that you do every single day. The things you do every single day and the process that you take to get things done. Okay? It's your flow that you work in. Michelle, it's that simple. All right, we're not going to overcomplicate the definition of it. Okay. But here's what's important to know about a workflow inside of artificial intelligence. I follow so many different AI enthusiasts and technology blogs and YouTube channels. And as soon as an update comes out, it's try this new thing, put this in your workflow, streamline this, make this so efficient. And Lisa, I'm like, okay, it all sounds great, but how? So today, y'all, what we are going to do is to walk through the work that you all do every single day. We're going to look at those tasks. I'm going to share a guide that has real workflows that you can use with artificial intelligence to work the way how you work. Okay. As we start to shift into that, I got to make this real plain. Show of hands, who all is in the School Psych AI Facebook group? Okay, Tony, Laura, a handful of people here. If you're not, make sure you're in that Facebook group. I paste Ebony. Hey, Ebony, what's up? What's up? I post a good bit inside of that Facebook group. About maybe 3 weeks ago, I posted Claude Design is the best thing in the world. I love designing with it. It's amazing. And then 2 weeks ago, I was like, hey, Claude Design isn't working for me the way I used to. They pushed out some updates. And then a week ago, I was like, ChatGPT image generator. I stopped using ChatGPT, but then I came back. And ChatGPT's image generator is the best thing in the world that I'm using now. And here today, this is where this workflow realization is really coming from. With me using Claude Design the past month, using ChatGPT image generator, and then Lisa, I went back to my good old faithful Canva, which is where I've always done my designs. It just gets the job done. And so what I was running into is trying to make my work fit using Claude Design, using ChatGPT image generator, and it wasn't working. And Lynette, I kept getting frustrated because I couldn't do what I needed to. And it was taking so much longer than if I would have just went into Canva to start with and do it myself and get it done. And then the realization came. I could use Claude Design and ChatGPT's image generator for inspiration. And then, Tony, I would go into what I know, Canva, because that's how I would work anyway. And now I'm taking the inspiration and I'm working how I typically would work. And a light bulb went off. This is how our field should be using this technology. Come on now. And so often what we're doing, we're trying to do this report writer and that report writer and doing this and talking, and it's not working. And then we leave and get mad at AI. It's not working. So what we're going to do today, we are going to take a look at the way how we actually work. And then make Sophia and School Psych AI work the way how you do. As we transition in, I'm going to share a guide with you. B, if you have that URL, if you could drop it inside of the chat. What B is going to share with you is a prompting guide for the workflows. Before I share my screen to that prompting guide, here's what I want you all to start thinking through. Tony, Margaret, Catherine, everyone on this call, think through when you get into your school building, or if you're working virtually, whatever you're doing, how do you start your day? And think through very specific tasks. meetings, things that you are doing from the time you start all the way through the very end. Okay? Have that in mind. Then I want you to drill a bit deeper. I want you to think about very specific tasks. That might be, I mentioned, an IEP meeting. You can think about a re-eval. You can think about a permission to test. What are the steps that you're taking to prepare for those meetings? Think about a behavioral observation you're going to do. What are the specific tasks that you're doing for a behavioral observation? And of course, think about a report. What are the specific tasks that you are doing as you are beginning to write your report? The reason for referral. You're collecting your test instruments. You're running a school report. Now you're analyzing that information. Think about the specific task that you are doing. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to switch this. I am going to move this. I'm going to mirror the screen for a second because I want to actually look like I'm looking at y'all and not the other way around. All right. I wanted to flip that. All right. There we go. Boom. Bam. And we're back. Now, the document that B has dropped inside of the chat, this is the workflows guide that I created for you all. Okay. Boom. There we go. All right. Now we're cooking. Thumbs up. Y'all can see my screen, right? Excellent. Inside of this guide, yes, Catherine. I think somebody, oh, maybe she was just saying yes, you can see. All right, cool. This gives you simple, clear instructions on what a workflow is and how to use it within School Psych AI. All right. I tried creating a quick image. I'm going to reposition this a little bit better. I know I was rushing. I was trying to do a bunch of different things, but we're going to clean this up. But this is a sample workflow. So as we get started and you're thinking through tasks, here's a sample workflow for you all. Inside of our platform, one of the things you could do is upload a full evaluation into our FERPA compliant platform. That's step one. The next step of your workflow is you can prompt and have a conversation with Sophia. That's part two of your workflow. And as we scroll through, part of these workflows, I am going to give you the exact tool, the exact prompt, the exact conversation that you need to be having as you go through this workflow. Then number three, here's a follow-up prompt that you're able to use with Sophia. Then I give another prompt to accomplish this. And we're going to walk through this one because it's really good. Now, just to kind of go through the structure and organization of this document. If you click over here, it's different tabs, and it's kind of like a table of contents. And I've got into using headers a bit here, but I've kind of broken it down by different themes. And so you can see here, the first thing is evaluation and report writing workflows. So this is, and B, if you could drop it again. Bonnie says, where did you put the link? Can I see it? Can you please drop it inside of the chat? Make sure, tell your coworker, tell your school site bestie, hop onto this call. I see the numbers going up. Tell someone to hop on. The link is here. Just copy it, share it with a friend. Let's get this up to 45 people. Let's do it. All right. We're organizing by the topic here. And then you see where it's bold. These are going to be the different workflows that you can actually use. This one, Tony, is so good. And we're going to walk through this sample workflow together. This is the missing student voice check. And what you do, you upload an evaluation, and then we just have different prompts that we're going to walk through. So we're going to do this workflow together in real time. As I'm doing this, I need you to watch, and we can do it together. And because I've been using my executive functioning, Karina, I'm going to ask everyone here to use your executive functioning. Go through and see if there's a sample workflow that we provide a sample for that you would like to test together in real time, and we'll do that. Or if you're like Stephanie, you have a very specific workflow, share that as well. And we'll walk you through how to do that in real time. And guess what? We'll add that workflow into the bottom. B, let's add a column on Team School Psych AI favorite workflows. We could do a better name of that, but y'all get it. Okay, we're going to start with the missing student voicemail. And all we're going to do is follow these steps. I'm going to go ahead and copy this one to get ready. We're jumping over to School Psych AI. We're in the platform now, all right? I'm going to make it bigger, 125%. There we go. All right, I'm in this chat view. In the bottom left-hand corner, there's a paperclip. That's where you can upload files, all different file types, up to 5 different files, all right? What you're going to do, and you can't see it on my screen just because how I shared my screen, but I am going to find a full evaluation. And this is the de-identify evaluation that I did. It's a real document. It was an evaluation I did in DC, and it was a very comprehensive one. It's about 29 pages as well. And so that's going to load. My file has uploaded, okay? That's step number 1. The second step of the process, we are going to prompt Sophia, okay? In this workflow, we provide sample prompts for you. I'm going to go ahead and get this running. Here's the prompt that we gave to Sophia. We told Sophia, review this evaluation and identify whether the student's perspective, interests, strengths, concerns, or lived school experiences are meaningfully represented. And here's what Sophia did. Here's the analysis. The student voice. The student's perspective, interests, strengths, concerns, and lived school experiences are minimally. Now, Sophia, you already over here working and playing jokes on me. You're not going to sass me today. Are superficially represented? Captain, this was a real report. I spent a lot of time on. Let's not take it personal, although I am in this evaluation. Well, the report lists student interviews, yeah, as a procedure. Stephanie says, did you plan this with Sophia? Sophia is feeling real sassy today. As a procedure and includes an interview section, the actual incorporation of Kanye's voice is severely lacking. So Stephanie, Ed ran an update yesterday because he knew I was going to do this. It's like, we are going to make Sophia beast mode Sophia, okay? And this is what we want. We want Sophia to push us. We are the experts, and I think I put that in the office hours email and also just on social media. Sophia is our thought partner here, and you're the experts in this. And so in this workflow, it's our workflow, it's your workflow. So here's how you're going to use Sophia to support you in that. Ed.
Can I see this prompt?
Now, Ed,
it's in the workflows.
It's all here.
Okay.
Everything you need for everyone here is in this document. All right. And this is the one that we're using right here. Okay. Y'all, this is good stuff too. Like, look at this. Sophia is ripping me to shreds. Here's what's present. The report, Sophia's being so sassy, does contain fragments suggesting Kanye's lived experiences. Now, this is all real stuff. This is all straight stuff from the eval. Here's some critical gaps that were identified. The eval fails to include any substantive, direct statements from the student about his own school experiences. Wow. And then it gives us some implications. Ooh. This evaluation exemplifies a deficit-focused, adult-centric approach that documents the student extensively, but speaks about him rather than with them. Meaningful student-centered practice would require direct incorporation of Kanye's voice, what he understands about his challenges, what he finds frustrating about school, what motivates him, and what goals he holds for his future. I'm going to pause because I have a lot of thoughts. And before I get defensive about my old eval that I wrote, just initial thoughts and reflections on seeing this.
My initial thought process, I'm sorry, I'm eating my lunch, is the sources. She only sources pages 4 to 6. So what happened to pages 1, 2, 3? Is that why there was critical gaps in the evaluation?
No, and I know because I've seen this. Sophia is pulling, it's citing its sources, and so it's referencing the things that it talked about from those pages. Although I know that there are things here that were referenced much later in the report and in the eval as well. So it just listed these here. So, but I could go back and then tell Sophia, hey, make sure you're bringing in something from this section or that section to make sure that it's being included. All right. Now, although that is a good consideration since Sophia was glitching. Now what we're going to do, we're going to run, and thanks, Stephanie. Were there any others before we run the second prompt? And I'm going to go ahead and get that going, but I'll pause if there's any others who have thoughts or yes, Ed.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's honing in on those sections because of those sections that contain the gaps, even though you might have mentioned them down with the, what do you call it, like later on in the file, it might be highlighting that it might be relevant to mention some of those like later highlighted pieces in that initial, like in the sections that it pointed out.
Yeah, possibly. Good call out. Emma, hey Emma.
Hi. So for this prompting series, is it best to use it in a new thread, or can we use the same thread that we've been using for that student's, like the rest of the students' evaluation?
I tested this yesterday, ironically enough, and the follow-up prompts, if the attachments are still there, it worked well going back into the attachments that were there and then also pulling from the history within that thread. I just started testing it yesterday and that worked for me. But Emma, please try any of these and let us know how it works for you within existing threads.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Always good to see you, Emma.
You too.
Okay. So the next question in this workflow was, tell me what student interview questions I should ask to fill in the missing perspective. Because remember, we're asking if, yep, Margaret says, good question, Emma, I use student threads, yep. We're asking Sophia to capture if anything might have been missed or if the student's voice wasn't included. And now Sophia is giving us interview questions to where we can go back and ask. It breaks it down into the student's experience and self-perception. And because I know this student, this will be wild asking this student, can you tell me about a typical day at school? What parts do you like most? What parts are hardest? What do you think your teachers would say about you as a student? Understanding of challenges. Do you ever feel like it's hard to stay calm or sit still? Now, I will go back in and modify some of these things, but you can see what Sophia is getting at here. Interests, motivators, and strengths. And I'm team strength-based all day in the paint. And for this one, I don't recall, asking this student this question. Now, y'all are catching reflective, Byron. Like, whew.
Can I jump in real quick just because I can give you an example of something I'm doing. I don't know if it would be helpful for anyone else.
Yes, please.
So I have a student interview list of questions that I ask when I do any evaluation, and I always just bullet, like I'm typing or writing as the student is answering the questions. And then what I ask Sophia to do, or sometimes Claude, is, without removing the identifiable information, obviously, but is looking at turning my notes into a narrative format for the student interview. If I use that student interview as the first point of my thread for that student, then Sophia can reference back as I'm adding evaluation information to pull on the student interview and the student's perception and strengths throughout the evaluation process and the workflow.
Wow.
I have also used Sophia similar like that but I'll have her generate like the student interview. So there are certain questions I'll ask for all interviews, but I've gotten even as specific, depending on like in the course of the evaluation, if I'm looking at like an emotional impairment versus a learning disability, or maybe I'm looking at other health impairment because of the student's ADHD, I'll have it generate interview questions that are specific to that disability and make sure that like I'm hitting those main points that I would need to have that data on. And then I do the same thing. I type right in the form, and then I have from those notes have her generate it for the report from those notes.
Exceptional uses. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing. And I saw in the chat, Emma says that she's doing that as well. Those are phenomenal uses. Lisa, I really like that.
Well, I actually started doing it after we did the strength-based recommendation office hours, because I do a lot of that. I get a lot of student strengths and their perception in the student interview. So I'll even say specifically using the student interview information, generate some strength-based accommodations or strength-based suggestions given the student's profile.
I love it. I love it. Look how all these worlds are colliding and we're putting these things into practice. Like, this is beautiful. And why I really wanted to have this office hours, one, so we could learn from one another. But we are barely scratching the surface of this technology. And like, I think this is a powerful way to really use it. Like how we work. Okay, let's keep rolling. So Sophia has given us some really phenomenal questions that if I'm being honest, I wish I could go back and pull not all of them, but some of these questions. Now, the last part of this sample workflow is a powerful one. And we're telling Sophia, now help me write a short student voice section using the information. See. Let's see how Sophia's feeling. Oh, I did that. I deleted that. I'm adding the report back in now because I deleted it when I was walking through. That was a user error. We're going to say, Sophia, help me write a short student voice section using the information available while clearly noting what still needs to be gathered. I could wordsmith this a little bit better. Now, help me write a short student voice section using the attached evaluation while clearly noting what still needs to be gathered. Okay? We're testing Sophia here. All right, let's see how she does. But the point here is that we can string together uploads, prompts, and tools to help us in the work that we do in a powerful way. As we're running through this, I have some other sample workflows, but please, if there is someone who would like to see a sample workflow that is in that document, or if you have one, please put that inside the chat as we start to wrap this one up and prepare to transition. Now, yep, Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of this is still open-ended intentionally. We don't want to lock people into a workflow because we know everybody works very differently, which is one of the most incredible and frustrating parts for me is trying to build this. Is not one person will do the same process the same exact way. And so even with like how Stephanie is pointing out when something is not working, or Tony and Co like pointing out how they work within the platform, it helps us gather information so we can make better product choices. So please keep giving us feedback. It is incredibly valuable for us.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Yeah, and look at this. Now it gives us a starting ground of a student voice section. And it talks about, yeah, it's minimally represented, There's no direct statements. The following reflects what can be gleaned from indirect sources with noted gaps for follow-up. Sophia is, hey, I love this, man. And A had to push me to get here, but Sophia is still pushing. Hey, there's work you got to go do. Like, get out and go get busy. Go get active. You're the expert. I'm here to help. I like that. Here's what's represented. This is really, really good. Kanye requires significant, y'all, encouragement to attend. That's old Byron working with the student. Yeah, this was the first time I was like, yo, Byron, should you share this right now?
Yes. Yes, it's a safe space and honest space.
Yeah, it was gonna be me and this student. And he was gonna have to see me. Tony, this wasn't the first time, but I had just left the Maryland side and came over to DC, and everyone was like, hey, it's gonna be your first case. Like, this kid hasn't tested with anybody ever. And like, man, I was like, all right, we're gonna see. And so my first interaction with this kid, I went down to lunch, like, hey, what's up, man? And he sized me up. Like, hey, man. Fast forward, join us for coffee hours here shortly for the unfiltered coffee version of this. He made it to my office. At least he came into my office. And man, we had some words. I was like, look, man, hey, close that door. But look, we got the assessment done. And then we got really, really cool with the family. But whew, this took work. This was one of the toughest cases. And to be fair, they did this student wrong in a really bad way. In a really, really bad way. So, and this was a systemic failure. This kid at that time fluctuated between 16 to 18 years old from the time I worked with him. And he had been incorrectly identified, hadn't received evaluation assessments in years. And the system had just did him wrong. But yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, Byron and I pushed Sophia where we were testing to understand, like, how do you when you ask specific questions from different framing, how does it change the output? And remember, we said evaluate this evaluation from a trauma-informed lens. And if Sophia would still agree if OHI is reasonable or SLD or intellectual disability, there's another word for it. I'm blanking right now. And Sophia threw out all of those and instead focused on the fact that there was systemic failure, the student didn't receive services, the student didn't receive adequate support, the bias in the system, just from adding, how would you view this from a trauma-informed lens? Completely changed the output and how Sophia saw the student. It was wild. Emotional disability, thank you, Corinne. Yeah, it was mind-blowing to see just by adding that, how much more you get from her.
Yes.
With respect to like that emotional awareness. Oh, yeah, perfect. There you go.
Yep.
Byron's already rolling into that section.
Yes, and that's one of the workflow sections that we have. You upload an evaluation, and I was creating it. I still like the beginning part of that. And so then I'm going to paste this in. And then we're going to let this roll. And what this one says, review this evaluation for potential bias, equity concerns, and unsupported assumptions. Woo! That's a good one. Identify any language, interpretation, eligibility, reasoning, test interpretation, cultural or linguistic factors, opportunity to learn issues, or recommendations that may be incomplete, unfair, or not fully supported by the data. That's
Right, be careful what you ask for.
I know. Now, y'all, I'm using myself as an example. Lisa, I'm probably Margaret. I'm about to get ripped to shreds.
100%.
Byron, it's always about continued improvement, right? Continuous improvement. I always tell my students, like, we want to be better than our yester you.
Mm,
Oh, I love that.
I love that. That's really good. Look at that. The evaluation contains significant. Think from the lens of this report was put out into the world. And again, I'm just an example here. This goes for all of us. A report was put out into the world and decisions were made about a student. Think from that lens, yo. And by asking, what did we miss? What did we get wrong? This evaluation contains significant gaps, unsupported assumptions, and equity concerns for me, a Black male psychologist working in Southeast DC in the hood. The following analysis identifies issues across multiple domains. Missing critical information. Byron, don't be defensive. Don't be defensive. I want to come up with excuses of why, but parent input. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, as an aside, like just learning about how long these reports are and how in the depth that they go, I'm kind of blown away that there aren't more mistakes and more gaps more often than not. Because in my world where I come from, if we had to submit these kind of large changes and directional like documentation, the expectation would be never that they would be this big. It would always be done in these like piecemeal ways, so you can keep track of the accuracy across time. Right? So you can see the longitudinal change of something. But with these really big documents, I think it's really hard to address all these issues while you also have 9 million other fires to address. So if anybody walks away with no feedback from Sophia or no like gaps in their reports, I would be being completely frank. And it's like, I don't think it's a deficit in that sense. I think it is a symptom of a broader systemic challenge.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. That's right. Because if this is on my caseload, you're welcome, Stephanie. Like, how do I have time to do the things that Sophia and I mean, rightfully so. So one of the things she calls out, the mother did not complete the developmental questionnaire, did not return the Connor's parent form, and was only reached by phone. How many times y'all think I reached out to this parent? Several attempts. So using myself as an example, I'm in the process of now documenting, right, Tony? Got to document each attempted. Here's the 3 times I tried calling. I put it inside, right? But then from doing right by the child, is this the best evaluation? And now max amplify this by 50 evals, 75, 100 evals that you're doing. Like, woo, okay. I want to bring us some other voices. You all can read what's on the screen. I'm also jumping to the chat as well. Yep, there we go. Was it a language issue? Yeah, so one of the things you'll see when it's calling out attendance here, it jumps into, here's one of the things. Because of that, I administer a nonverbal. I administer the Tony for this student. Before, they were saying this student was intellectually disabled. I'm speaking, I'm working, I'm seeing this kid. I was like, man, you're not intellectually disabled. This is a whole nother equity conversation. But I mean, shout out to Kylie. We don't have time, so I'm gonna stay focused here. It was like, y'all telling me this kid is intellectually disabled? I don't believe it. This kid had been evaluated. Woo! Ay, man. We did this kid so wrong.
That's what I called out last time too.
Yeah, man.
Insane that is still
Yeah.
I imagine that's still being used. I imagine it's still a problem.
Oh,
can't imagine
it's massive. It's a massive, again, this is a system thing, but why we are here trying to show different ways that we can use this. Look, there's going to be report writers a dime a dozen. What we're trying to show is how can we extrapolate meaning, because most practitioners are just like me when I was in the field. and didn't have time, even though like I'm speaking and leading, like people look at me as a leader in this space on writing equitable reports and things, and like we using this to rip my reports up. And if I didn't have the time to deliver this idealistic, picture perfect report, but now we have tools that can help us. So it's not just about uploading a report and getting what you need. It's about now we have the time and space to ask follow-up questions, to dive deeper, to have considerations to, okay, I can go make 15 minutes to go ask this kid a couple questions and then loop it in into the report and evaluation here. Anyways, let's keep rolling. Let's see, that's stuck for me. I can't see. Sarah says this may not be the form for this. I guess, Sophia, a BAS protocol or ABAS or ASRS, it gives me something different than, yep. Can we just message, hit that intercom button there and let us know anytime that happens? All right. Very good, very good. All right, let's keep rolling. And then it jumps into some of the eligibility reasoning issues. Again, this particular case, it was a very complex case. This kid was a sophomore in high school at the point of testing. And we were looking at OHI, ED, SLD, and intellectual disability, and landing on the most appropriate one. All right. And then Sophia is calling out all of the different considerations here. To Stephanie, to your point earlier, it gives you a section on language and framing concerns. All right. Yeah, he did. He walked out of class. Anyways, and then it gives us a recommendation, okay, of what we should do. Or it goes through an analysis of the recommendations. And there was a lot of recommendations that I provided. And it's going through, and I think Sophia is going to rip all of my recommendations. All right. And then it gives us a nice summary here as well. Okay. I'll pause. Are there any other questions or comments? And then we're going to open it up to others so we're not dominating the conversation. Sorry, y'all.
I have a question. I can go last.
No, go ahead, Ed.
I was gonna say, would it help if we included like the section highlights with respect to this, like kind of highlighting where this like concern might be in the report potentially, and like what a way to rephrase it might be? Wow, thanks. I don't know, like, because I feel like this could be more negative, and like if you see this and you're just like really stressed, tired, frustrated at this report already, and then you see us kind of like go like this, like have all these different critiques, I feel like that could also be demoralizing on a end.
Yeah, it could. I'll pause because I don't want to answer that question.
I think that what you're saying is valid. I think it's asking to be, using sensitive language, right? Like being sensitive to who's reading the report and knowing the audience, right? But I also think given the, you can reference maybe not the scores, but given, WISC 5 or WACE evaluation results, the team may consider eligibility under the following areas, or may consider exploring or discussion around intellectual disability or whatever. I think that there's a way to do that. But again, if we're the experts, we're supposed to be going through the report and framing and being sensitive to that language before, we're not just using a report writer to print the report. We're using it to help us generate and write. But I think rereading it and making sure that the language is student-centered and sensitive to the audience is important.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that, Lisa. And back to the workflow document, I started there because I did want to rip a report to shreds, but I also have some that are like, hey, what are some of the strengths in this school report that we upload? Here's a workflow. It's finding the weak spots. We can do another workflow of finding the strengths in the report, but I say, give me specific edits I should make section by section to strengthen the report without changing the facts. So again, this is where prompting becomes pretty important. Then Margaret says, I think of Sophia as a trusted colleague. I may ask for her input to see where I can improve, but it does not mean she thinks I am a poor school psych. But instead, she is offering constructive criticism that I can apply or not using my professional judgment. Absolutely. Very well said. Yes. Here we go. And what I'm doing, I'm jumping across workflows just because of time. And these are prompts you can use. Again, inside of this document, we go through different tools that you can use. You can run this through the strength-based language generator. You can put it through the email tool. Go through this document. It's going to be, I think this is a really good start. But check out this next prompt we're going to do. We're going to say, rewrite the weakest section of the attached evaluation using clear, more defensible language while keeping the tone professional and student-centered. I think there was a prompt before this one. In that workflow, you upload it, you have Sophia identify the sections that need to be corrected. And then, so let's add in identify the weakest, shakiest section of the report. Then use your deep expertise to rewrite the weakest section of the evaluation. Don't appease me or try to make me happy. Be factual and accurate and lead with strengths. I actually really like that prompt. And submit.
Be careful what you ask for, Byron.
Yeah. This is what we want. So in this one, I have intentions to do that because of the capacity problem we're up against. We don't put out our best, okay? So now asking something like this allows us to still be clinically precise and get the help. So, hey, Sophia, here's my take, given my capacity. Help me identify a section which Sophia has no problem doing. And it shows, based on that prompt, the summary and eligibility section. Oh, this is good, man. Wow. Yo, did y'all just see that? We had Sophia go through an almost 30-page evaluation, identify the weakest section, and had her think through the different sections that are weak, pick the best one, and then provided us the rewritten one. And in DC, we had to do eligibility considerations without predetermining. And here's what it came up with. Ooh, it added this limitation. Wow. It gave us a data limitation section. Yo.
I've never seen that before. What is that?
So this is saying, here are some limitations of this evaluation that you did based on the preponderance of evidence that you gave us. There's some limitations that you need to be aware of inside of this. Wow.
Oh, it's almost like a guardrail to it then,
yes.
in a way, right? Okay.
Yes,
That's interesting.
for the IEP team. This evaluation is limited by the evidence we talked about. The absence of the parent interview data, developmental history, medical documentation. We don't need that in DC. You might need it where you are, and direct student input regarding his own perspective. The massive discrepancy between the WJ and Tony 4 cognitive scores require further investigation. The student's extremely limited attendance. That's fair. Raises questions about the extent to which his low academic scores reflect ability versus the opportunity to learn. Emma, that's what I want to say. That's exactly what I wanted to say, Sophia. Y'all talk to me, y'all. Oh, it's time to go. Quick reflections.
I think it can be very useful. Like I've used Sophia in similar cases where like a student had significant number of absences and had her come up with ideas on ways that I can phrase that when I'm using that as a determinant factor for making a child ineligible, and some of that wording to make sure it was worded correctly. So I think it could be very useful when we're looking at those limitations.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tommy. I'm noting the time. Any others?
Byron, Laura asked a question that if she uploads a document and prompts Sophia to keep referencing that attached document within that specific thread when formulating her response. Or she's putting several documents. Laura, I haven't tried several documents. I've tried, like if I'm within a thread and I'm talking about one student, for me that's worked because it's holding that information in general. So I feel like if you're uploading a document, I haven't had an issue with that. I haven't tried like multiple documents though. But if you want to come on.
I'm just thinking about different score reports, or if I have, a bulleted list of background history or things like that, and I'm trying to write a narrative about, or even my summary, and I want it to kind of pull information from each of those documents without having to retype it. Yeah.
Yes.
Or could I like upload 2 previous evaluations that the student has had the last 6 years, and use those as a reference when you're comparing it and contrasting it to current results? Will it consistently go back and refer to those 2 documents in the background?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you used that word consistently. So make sure that you're using, and you might have saw me put, based on the attachments.
Okay.
If you could even be more specific, and again, we're a smaller company, but if you want to get very specific and name them based on the attached risk report, based on the attached brief report, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then as you're having a good conversation, Sophia will always prioritize the attachments as well as the history within that thread. And we don't talk about this often, but inside of this workspace view, you can also point to a particular document and have Sophia reference what's inside of that document as well. That's a more sophisticated, complex thing to do. The point is just be very specific to your very literal thought partner on which points, or to point her in the right direction. So if you're talking about attachments, be sure to say attachments. If you want to talk about history, make sure you're saying based on the history within this thread. Or if you want to test it out, say based on the context in the editor document. But that's a conversation for another day.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And then Ebony, is Sophia able to see snip screenshots if they are in the report? Yes. So if you upload here, you can upload PNGs, JPEGs, CSV files, which are, I think, spreadsheets, PDFs, and Word docs as well. And then Stephanie says, I just ran this through Sophia with the doc that she produced and I haven't looked at, and I got a 12-point critique, mainly vague wording throughout interpretive sections, incomplete cross-platform analysis. I've never managed to get Sophia to use the documents that she has produced. I think we could talk about that a little bit more. Okay. Ed, nope, that's not it. That's Emma. Emma, please go ahead.
Kind of based on Ebony's question, for within the report, if we have images, so screenshots copy pasted, I tried to run it. She told me that that was an area of weakness for my report because it was blank.
Oh, gosh.
We need to upload those separately, like individually and tell her what they are?
Thank you for clarifying that. So images inside of like a PDF. I don't know if Ed is here, but depending on the file type, Sophia is a little inconsistent, if we're being honest. To where we've had to do a lot of work, even with our tools. If you're uploading a PDF, depending on the type of PDF, looking at different charts and graphs with inside of that PDF. So if you have a very specific example, one, always try, just always see what Sophia can do. And then bring that to me, to Ed, and we can work through and troubleshoot with you together if it's not doing what you need it to do. Stephanie, before I throw it to you, I'm noting the time. It's 12:05. We're 5 minutes over. We do have coffee hours, which starts in, Karina, 10 minutes. I believe. She might have just hopped off. Join Karina coffee hours in 10 minutes. We'll make sure that the link gets shared. And if you need to go, thank you all so much. We will be modifying office hours for the summer. You want to look out for that to come. Otherwise, I'll hang back here for anyone else who has questions. All right. Thanks, everyone.